Welcome to Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story, where we answer the questions you have about your favorite classic authors. What inspired your favorite author to write their novels? What was going on in the world at the time? Follow along with us as we tell you what was happening in the world while your favorite authors wrote your favorite classics. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read, and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. If you enjoy our show, be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. You can find us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books or on our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter for more information on who we're talking about and what's coming next for the podcasts. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear a book by the author we are currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be talking about the views of Jack London. Atheism. London was an atheist. He is quoted as saying, "I believe that when I'm dead, I'm dead. I believe that with my death, I am just as much obliterated as the last mosquito you and I squashed." Political views. London wrote from a socialist viewpoint, which is evident in its novel The Iron Heel. Neither a theorist nor an intellectual socialist, London's socialism grew out of his life experience. As London explained in his essay, How I Became a Socialist, his views were influenced by his experience with people at the bottom of the social pit. His optimism and individualism faded, and he vowed never to do more hard physical work than necessary. He wrote that his individualism was hammered out of him, and he was politically reborn. He often closes his letters, "Yours for the Revolution." London joined the Socialist Labor Party in April 1896. In the same year, the San Francisco Chronicle published a story about the 20-year-old London's giving nightly speeches in Oakland City Hall Park, an activity he was arrested for a year later. In 1901, he left the Socialist Labor Party and joined the New Socialist Party of America. He ran unsuccessfully as the high-profile socialist candidate for mayor of Oakland in 1901, receiving 245 votes, and 1905, improving to 981 votes, toured the country lecturing on socialism in 1906, and published 2 collections of essays about socialism, War of the Classes, 1905, and Revolution and Other Essays, 1906. Staw's notes, London regarded the Wobblies as a welcome addition to the socialist cause, although he never joined them in going so far as to recommend sabotage. Staw's mentions a personal meeting between London and Big Bill Haywood in 1912. In his 1913 book, The Cruise of the Snark, London writes about appeals to him for membership of the Snark's crew from office workers and other toilers who longed for escape from the cities, and of being cheated by workmen. In his Glen Ellen Ranch years, London felt some ambivalence toward socialism and complained about the inefficient Italian laborers in his employ. In 1916, he resigned from the Glen Ellen chapter of the Socialist Party. In an unflattering portrait of London's ranch days, California cultural historian Kevin Starr refers to this period as post-socialist and says that by 1911, London was more bored by the class struggle than he cared to admit. George Orwell, however, identified a fascist strain in London's outlook. But temperamentally, he was very different from the majority of Marxists. With his love of violence and physical strength, his belief in natural aristocracy, his animal worship, and exaltation of the primitive, he had in him what one might fairly call a fascist strain. Race. London shared common concerns among many European Americans in California about Asian immigration. Described as the Yellow Peril, he used the latter term as the title of a 1904 essay. This theme was also the subject of a story he wrote in 1910 called The Unparalleled Invasion. Presented as a historical essay set in the future, the story narrates events between 1976 and 1987, in which China, with an ever-increasing population, is taking over and colonizing its neighbors with the intention of taking over the entire Earth. The Western nations respond with biological warfare and bombard China with dozens of the most infectious diseases. On his fears about China, he admits, at the end of The Yellow Peril, it must be taken into consideration that the above postulate is itself a product of Western race egotism, urged by our belief in our own righteousness, and fostered by a faith in ourselves which may be as erroneous as our most fond race fancies. By contrast, many of London's short stories are notable for their empathetic portrayal of the Mexican, Asian, the Chinago, and Hawaiian, Kulau the leper, characters. London's war correspondence from the Russo-Japanese War, as well as his unfinished novel, Cherry, show he admired much about Japanese customs and capabilities. London's writings have been popular among the Japanese, some of whom believe he portrayed them positively. In Kulau the Leper, London describes Kulau, who is a Hawaiian leper and thus a very different sort of Superman than Martin Eden, and who fights off an entire cavalry troop to elude capture, as indomitable spiritually, a magnificent rebel. This character is based on a Hawaiian leper, who in 1893 revolted and resisted capture from forces of the Provisional Government of Hawaii in the Kalalau Valley. Those who defend London against charges of racism cite the letter he wrote to the Japanese-American Commercial Weekly in 1913, in reply to yours of August 16, 1913. First of all, I should say by stopping the stupid newspaper from always fomenting race prejudice. This, of course, being impossible, I would say. Next, by educating the people of Japan so that they will be too intelligently tolerant to respond to any call to race prejudice. And finally, by realizing in industry and government of socialism, which last word is merely a word that stands for the actual application of in the affairs of men of the theory of the brotherhood of man. In the meantime, the nations and races are only unruly boys who have not yet grown to the stature of men, so we must expect them to do unruly and boisterous things at times. And, just as boys grow up, so the races of mankind will grow up and laugh when they look back upon their childish quarrels. In 1996, after the city of Whitehorse, Yukon, renamed a street in honor of London, protests over London's alleged racism forced the city to change the name of Jack London Boulevard back to 2 Mile Hill. Shortly after boxer Jack Johnson was crowned the first black world heavyweight champ in 1908, London pleaded for a white candidate to come forward to defeat Johnson. Nat Fletcher, a boxing writer, reported that London told Jim Jeffries, "It's up to you to save the white race." The phrase about saving the white race was an embellishment by Fletcher, but it is clear from London's writings that he preferred that a white boxer win the title of champion. The term Great White Hope in boxing is often attributed to London, but it was first used in contexts outside of boxing in the 19th century, and in the 1960s to refer to Jeffries. Eugenics. With other modernist writers of the day, London supported eugenics. The notion of good breeding complemented the progressive era scientism, the belief that humans assort along a hierarchy by race, religion, and ethnicity. The progressive era catalog of inferiority offered basis for threats to American Anglo-Saxon racial integrity. London wrote to Frederick H. Robinson of the periodical Medical Review of Reviews, stating, "I believe the future belongs to eugenics, and will be determined by the practice of eugenics." Although this led some to argue for forced sterilization of criminals, or those deemed feeble-minded, London did not express this extreme. His short story, Told in the Drooling Ward, is from the viewpoint of a surprisingly astute, feeble-minded person. Hensley argues that London's novel, Before Adam, 1906-07, reveals pro-eugenic themes. London advised his collaborator, Anna Strunsky, during preparation of the Kempton-Wass letters, that he would take the role of eugenics and mating, while she would argue on behalf of romantic love. Love won the argument. The Valley of the Moon emphasizes the theme of real Americans. The Anglo-Saxon, yet in Little Lady of the Big House, London is more nuanced. The protagonist's argument is not that all white men are superior, but that there are more superior ones among whites than in other races. Encouraging the best in any race to mate will improve its population qualities. Living in Hawaii challenged his orthodoxy. In My Hawaiian Aloha, London noted the liberal intermarrying of races, concluding how little Hawaii, with its hodgepodge races, is making a better demonstration than the United States. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story today, while we answered some of the questions you have about one of your favorite classic authors. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you join us next time when we answer more questions about one of your favorite classic authors. If you enjoyed our show, be sure to follow us so you get all the new episodes. We would also love for you to drop us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. You can catch us on all the social medias at Bite at a Time Books, or check out our website, biteatatimebooksbehindthestory.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter. Our show is part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you would also like to hear a story by the author we are currently featuring, check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, or on biteatatimebooks.com.